Hey everybody, this is Scott and Bethany Palmer,
Hello.
the money couple. Welcome to Wealth Wednesdays.
Absolutely.
All right, now I've got to start off with something crazy for you all. It's May 3rd, I think today, May 3rd.
Yes.
And it's snowing outside. And not only is it snowing, but it's snowing sideways. Now, I don't ever complain about the weather because Colorado is such an amazing place to live.
It is.
And we love it here so much, and our family's here, and our schools are here, and our kids are really involved in everything. However, I have to tell you, really, snow on May 3rd, we are so ready for spring here. It is unbelievable. My poor tulips have gotten pounded twice already with snow. But anyways, I'm going to stop whining about that. It is awesome to have you here.
Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. We are so excited to be sharing with you today and to be here, and we're just building up this community. And
Absolutely.
It's just so much fun. I'm just like, yay! It's so great, and just really, really great to have you here. You know, we just moved into our new home, which is really fun, and a lot of you shared that with us. Thank you for your excitement and encouragement. But today we're here recording live from our offices here in Colorado Springs, and it's just so fun to have you here. We're here today to talk actually about a very important subject, and that's second marriages. Now, don't leave if you're in a great first marriage. Awesome. You still have to stay. Please stay with us, because we are going to be sharing some really important money discussions that you should have. Now,
you know, it's interesting. It's a little interesting because a lot of our friends are like, hey, what, you guys are all about saying marriages. Why are you doing this segment on second marriages? And here's the reality. There's a 50% divorce rate in America.
That's right.
And so we're losing half our marriages up front. And what we're finding is that often people get remarried. And guess what? They make the same mistakes. And the percentage of divorces is actually higher in the second marriage than it is in the first marriage. So our goal is not to say, hey, get divorced and try another marriage here. Our goal is really just to say, hey, listen, for a lot of you out there, you might find yourselves moving into a second marriage. And if you do, we want to make sure that your second marriage doesn't end like your first marriage in divorce. And we want to make sure that you're going into the second marriage eyes wide open, especially when it comes to your money. Because we're all human, and we tend to, whoops, my phone's ringing. You want to grab that back?
Sure.
And we tend to make the exact same mistakes that we make over and over again. Sorry, I thought I had my ringer turned off there. I do not. It is now. Let me just,
this is live.
Actually, yep, this is live, if you can't tell. And so really our goal here is to make sure that whether you're in your first marriage and you haven't asked these questions, or you are in your second marriage, that you start asking some of these questions before you get married so that you can have an amazing, amazing, amazing marriage.
Now, a couple of things before we get started. You know, now again, may not be your second marriage, or maybe you're not dating somebody looking into a second marriage. Please be sure to put this on to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Please forward it on. We would love that. We just really want to build a community of incredible money, prosperous people.
Absolutely.
And that's really one of our goals. Now, before we get started, I want to show you our little area right here. See that?
Absolutely.
See this little area right here? This is all set up for our Money University people. People who are members of Money University get a conference call right after this, starting at 12:30 Mountain Time. So if you are part of Money University, please be sure to email us your questions at info@themoneycouple.com. Hey, and if you're not part of Money University and you want to add a question in, please feel free to email us, no problem. But we really want to make sure that we're answering the questions for our Money University members. And we're so excited. We launched it last week just to our current list. People who were on a list, great response. We're really looking forward to building that into just really a life-changing resource, wouldn't you say, honey?
Absolutely.
I mean, one that's just going to be a must-go-to for any single person, any married person. And again, our whole goal here is to have money, prosperous people, and wealth in so many ways. Wealth and richness of your life, wealth and richness in terms of your dollars, and to feel really good about it. You know, 70% of divorces are over money, and we're not going to let that happen. We're going to bring that down, aren't we, honey?
Absolutely.
So let's get started today. We're talking about
three money questions to ask before you get married for the second time.
And these are suggestions. These are things that we see couples that they don't ask. We'll be frank, we didn't even know to ask these questions. We got married 18 years ago,
absolutely.
and we would have been better for it if we did.
Yeah.
I know that's for sure.
And part of the reason too that we're doing this for second marriages is because some of the things that you have to think about are a little different than with your first marriage. So let's just jump into number one.
Okay.
What money commitments do you have? Now, this is huge because when you're going into a second marriage, especially if you were married, well, obviously you'd been married one before, you've got things like alimony, child support, education. Let me talk a little bit about the education side of things. We had a couple that we sat down with. It was their second marriage, and she didn't know that as part of his divorce settlement with his ex-wife that he was actually responsible for half of all the kids' college expenses. So
and she wasn't planning on giving any.
Right, and she wasn't, and then it got a little sticky because it was like, well, we're going to pay for your kids' college, but we're not going to pay for any of my kids' college, and it turned into a really icky situation, and they were both very frustrated. That's actually why they came in and visited with us, was how do we talk about this moving forward? And so one of the things that you really need to think about is going over the alimony payments. How much is that going to be? How long is it going to last for? Is it a 5, 10, 15, 20 lifetime commitment? You need to talk about that. Child support. For most families, child support ends when the child becomes of legal age or when they graduate college. And so you just need to go over those numbers, really understand what your monthly commitment is. And then last but not least, really understand, do you have any of those educational commitments made? Yep. Because you want to make sure you're doing what's right for your kids foremost, and you know that. But understanding just these top three. There's other financial commitments that you might want to talk about too. Are you liable for part of the mortgage? Are you having to sell a house? And so some of those things. But what we really want to make sure that in the first three questions you ask is alimony, child support, and education.
You got it. All right. So that's point number one. The kind of first category of questions that she should be asking is all about money commitments that they have to other people. All right. So second of all, what debt and savings do you have? Now, if you are too nervous to ask about this, let's say you kind of suspect that the person you're dating has this problem. If you're too nervous to ask, this might not be the right time. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not okay to marry the person, but it just might not be the right time.
Right.
Because if you aren't feeling comfortable in even asking them about it, then that's not a good thing. And it's really, really crucial that you feel comfortable talking to the person. Let's say you ask the person, you say, well, I don't really want to talk about this, but that's usually the best way to say it. But I feel like it's just a responsible thing to do. Talk to me about any debts that you have or what savings that you have, so we can make sure that we're all on the same wavelength about that. If they're like, well, I don't know if that's any of your business, you better run.
Because you got to remember,
run for the hills.
Yeah, you have to remember, when you get remarried, you're remarrying that debt too.
That's right.
And so one of the things that people tend to think is, well, when we get married, even though it's our second marriages, we're going to be able to keep our debt separate. We're going to be this, and that's just not reality. And it's not always the way that it works. And so you have to remember, a marriage is a legal binding document. And so because it's a legal binding document, you are also going to be bound to the debt that you bring together. And you might find that you're liable for some of the debt that your future spouse may be bringing in as well. So I love this one about savings and debt, because you need to know about the debt, and then you also need to know the savings. Oh, yeah, it can impact. Tell me about the lady that found herself in a weird predicament with how much money she actually married into, not knowing.
Yes. Okay, so we had this lady, and she, and it's kind of interesting. A lot of times you think of, we want to make sure there's no debt and there's no bad situations. Well, this lady, she actually got married, and it turns out that her husband had millions of dollars.
He was loaded.
Loaded, and she didn't know it.
And he was one of those guys that was just like totally cool about it. Yeah. Like, he drove a nice Honda Accord, and he lived in it wasn't ostentatious at all. So she was really shocked at how much money they had, and it actually kind of freaked her out because she didn't feel like she was bringing that much to the marriage.
That's right.
And definitely on the finance side, she didn't feel like she was bringing anything to the marriage. So, a lot of times in that second marriage, people talk about keeping their savings and their debt separate, but it really isn't realistic to do that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And let's a little follow up on that story. You'd think that she'd be really excited, but you know what? She was really intimidated. Mm-hmm. She was a pretty simple person herself, and it really intimidated her. So, be open, be honest, and if you don't feel like you can be, if you can't feel good about where you are financially, maybe it's not a right time. Mm-hmm. If you're marrying somebody just to take care of your financial problems, won't end up as a good marriage or good relationship. So money is such a good barometer of where you really are. If you aren't feeling good about your money situation, you need to fix that. that before you get married. If that person you're marrying isn't in a good financial situation, he or she needs to fix it before you get married. You want to have a good marriage. This is your second time around. We want to make sure that it's great. So this is an important part of it.
Okay, so number 3, and this is really important. And you know what? Even if you're married or maybe you're single and you're dating, this one you want to ask no matter what. And that's, where are the spendings and where are spending and savings habits different? Meaning, it's really good to just get that out. It's really good to have the conversation with saying, one of you might be a saver and you love to save, and one of you might be a spender and you love to spend.
That's why we have the money personalities.
Right, that's why those money personalities come out so handy. Gotta go take your money personality
assessment.
But the reason that it's interesting is because what we see is those spending habits are so important to understand where they differ before you get married, especially for the second time. Because the reality is, if you got divorced, money was probably one of the major issues in leading to your first divorce. And so really understanding in the second marriage, does he like to go out and shop? Does she like to go out and shop? Maybe he's like I am and he does big ticket items. He could care less about small ticket items. And so how is that going to work? And is that really going to bug me? Is that going to, if it's suddenly our money again and now you're in a 2 people in a relationship and the money is pooled again, how is that going to affect you? And how do those habits differ? Because those habits are what grind on you.
I was talking to this lady, and she's like, yeah, when we were dating, he would bring coupons to every restaurant and stuff, and I would always think, oh, how cute. And then we got married, and I'm like, this isn't cute anymore, and are we going to be doing this for the rest of my life? And the answer is yes. Yes, you are. So we are Scott Bethany Palmer, the Money Couple. We are here with Wealth Wednesday. We want you to have wealth in your relationships, wealth with your money, and we really want you to have a wealthy relationship. And we know, especially if you're getting married the second time, if you've got major differences, if you think it bugs you now when you're dating, you wait. Just wait. Get legally bound and married. It will bother you even more. And we don't want that, and we're just hearing too many stories about that. So, honey, why don't you just review these 3 points one more time, just to make sure it gets in the audience's head. And, again, spread this. Take this Wealth Wednesday, give it to all of your friends, anybody that you know that's in this particular situation, anybody that's dating anybody. I don't care if it's first marriage, second marriage, because you could be married, be your first marriage, but you're marrying somebody who it's their second, and they have all these things that we talked about, even though it's your first. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So the first thing that we want you to talk about with your second marriage is to make sure that you understand what money commitments the other person has. The 3 specific ones I want you to hit are alimony, child support, and educational expenses. That's number 1. Talk about what those monthly expenses that you have with your ex-spouse and your current kids, obviously, what those are going to look like. Number 2, we want to make sure that you're talking about both debt and savings. What are you walking into? Eyes wide open. You have to know what you're walking into. And number 3, what spendings and saving habits in the relationship that you have right now, how do they differ? Where are you guys colliding? Where are you finding yourselves in a different situation? And make sure that you're going in really understanding and being open to what that looks like. So hey, here's the good news.
Number 3?
Oh, I did 3. That was number 3. Sharing your different spending and saving habits.
Wow, am I listening?
No, it's all good. So hey, now we're really excited because this is what's going to happen. For all of you that subscribed to Money University and are starting to go through that process, we just are literally having our conversation coaching call right now. As soon as we hang up here.
Actually in 15 minutes.
Oh, in 15 minutes? Okay, you're right. 12:30 Mountain.
Yeah.
So we are going to be jumping on that call. We're going to be going through, we've gotten a load of questions coming in at info@themoneycouple for our Money University attendees. We're going to be talking live. We're going to be answering your specific questions. We're going to be hanging out for about 10 or 15 minutes, longer if we need to. But we're excited to have you call in on the conference call. I know it's our first one. We just launched Money University.
Yay.
Today we're going to be talking about how to know your household money leadership, since that's what we're talking about in Money U. Who knows who's in charge of the money and how and why, and who maybe doesn't need to be in charge of the money. So we're looking forward to all our Money University new groups and members, and we're looking forward to seeing you talking to you in 15 minutes. If you haven't signed up for Money University, you gotta check it out.
Okay,
it is awesome.
Now, here's the thing. Money University isn't even on our website yet.
It's not, because we just did that.
It's not. Right. So stay tuned. And if you want to understand and learn more about about Money University now before we launch it out to the world, because we haven't launched it out to the world yet, please email us at info@themoneycouple.com, and we'll be happy to get you in. No problem. But we're kind of ramping up to go out there in a big way.
Yeah, and it's important to mention, too, with the Money University, the reason that we just did it to our current group of people that have been part of this community is because we reduced the price.
That's right.
And so that's why it's not on the internet, because you'd be paying more if you were just going straight to the internet, as if you weren't already part of our community. So how much longer are we going to have that cart open at that price?
Well, we actually closed the cart.
Okay.
But I'm just going to say this. If anybody emails us at info@themoneycouple.com within the next day or two, we'll get you that reduced price. It's really good. And your relationship is worth it.
Absolutely.
Don't forget that.
Your relationship is always worth it.
So it's great to be with you all here. This is Scott Bethany Palmer, the Money Couple, recording to you live from Colorado Springs at the Money Couple headquarters. And we're really excited to have you with us. Spread the word. Make your relationships rich. Make yourself rich. We're excited to continue the journey with you. Have a great day. And
Absolutely.
as always, make it happen.